All right, afternoon, guys. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I was feeling sick, but either I'll remake the class up or just like notch off like one. I think I have like 1 or 2 days coming up that are like open lab days, and I'll just take that day off and just teach what I was supposed to teach last week. Yeah. Oh, were you gonna say something?
Oh, no.
So you're not gonna miss out anything that you were supposed to have. It also gave you an extra week to hopefully make your at least a good portion of your face. If anyone wants me to look at it, we can go do that now. Other than that, I can go over some stuff that I kind of didn't go over last week on the face, like the ears, the eyes, like the inside of the mouth. So if anyone wants to go, you want me to look at your face? It's on Sketchfab.
No, I just have the, were we supposed to upload Sketchfab?
It's easy for me to look at it on Sketchfab if you have it.
I don't. Is it okay if I just share my screen?
Yes. Coast.
So this is kind of what I have at the moment.
Okay.
My pathology.
So far you're doing a real good job. I like how low poly everything is. It's best to work as low as possible, and like when you will need to add some stuff, you can easily add it in. So at the moment, this is good. Like the nose is a little high, but like compared to everything else, but that's not a huge issue for right now. It's just some like you'll have to like do a little like as you get more, you'll kind of notice, but like your face is very like has hard shapes. You think your face is very soft, and but like cheeks have like hard like when I say hard, I mean like make a like not like a 90-degree turn, but like will have that kind of like hard nature. So like right here, like you can see like in your you have like high cheekbones like up here, so you'll like you at the moment I can see that like this edge is kind of going down a little bit, and most likely it'll have to go up, or you'll add some edges a little bit closer to make that hard shape. One thing that I didn't mention that sometimes is helpful is if you give me back control, make me a host. is that I kind of like sometimes to make my my reference images black and white, and also go into image adjustments and levels, and crank up, like make it extreme, like these like, so you can kind of see where there's highlights and kind of like planes of your face. So you can see that like in my face when I kind of cranked these shapes down, these curves a little bit down for the levels, you can notice that like I have a like right here is a flat shape, like because of that, and like you can kind of see that like right here is another like hard shape. These are different like parts of my head, and I need to try and keep that in mind, that like those are hard shapes, and I should kind of make sure that I kind of make them like overemphasize it a little bit, and then I can easily soften it up later on. Right here, like my nose, I have a very like sharp nose right here. My cheeks are very round. Like I have like, this is kind of about that shape. Like I don't have very pronounced cheeks. They're kind of soft right here. This is a large like pronounced shape right here. So I need to just make sure, like keep in mind when I'm modeling that like these are some features that I want to try and like enforce in like when I model, and kind of keep in mind that like these are hard shapes, and I will eventually like, you can see that like this is kind of like, I probably should have made this a little bit more like this way, but like you can see that like this, I'm making sure that these are some hard shapes, like this right here. This face is intersecting with that plane right here. Is kind of making this about a, I don't know, like 130-degree angle instead of like a soft angle, and so it kind of just helps. You can see right here, this is kind of pronounced out, and I just, because I saw that like in this lower, this like extra like crunched, it's bringing out those shapes in your face a little bit more. So it kind of helps to also have those like, they might want to like switch back and forth. But what you have is great so far. It's a great foundation. Once like it's first like getting everything kind of shaped in about the right shape, and then like it's then about like, all right, let me move a small amount to really get that like feature. Like that's what will make it like be like, this kind of looks like me, and then like, oh, all right, that looks like me, or that looks like a specific person. When you like kind of know, like a lot of times students will have like shallow face, like this will be kind of low, and then I'm like, all right, now let's move it out a little bit, and you're like, all right, that kind of gets like, so like this part, like once you have most of it done, then that's when you can kind of start adjusting like small amounts, or taking some edges and kind of like pushing them up to kind of get there. Yeah, like that, like we're kind of making the lower in the form. That's why I kind of like keep low and then like build up high. Like if I knew that like, or I really need to make some harder edges, or like I need something right here, I can easily add an extra one right there, and give more edges to kind of like morph in that specific spot, or make a certain spot a little bit more pronounced by like adding an edge right there. So like you can see that if I add an edge right here, it's changing up kind of like the way my face looks, just by adding like a single edge really close to a certain one, and maybe pushing it like a little bit closer. Like you can see that like the left side is looks different than the right side just by adding like a single edge or just adjusting a small amount. The sculpting brushes are also really helpful. They're kind of like digital sculpting. It's not the best softwares like ZBrush or Mudbox are the far superior, but this has brushes that you can push and pull. Looks like my geometry has manifolds. I don't want to fix that right now, but you can easily like adjust things with them or hold shift and smooth them out. One tool that's extremely helpful is this one right here, the smooth brush. So it averages the faces of the mesh instead of smoothing. So let's say like where your nose, you had a bunch of stuff right around your nose, like right around here. And if you wanted that kind of spread out a little bit more and be relaxed, you can use this smooth brush. So select the smooth brush, and what it does is it moves it around and tries to keep the contour of the geometry of the face instead of smoothing out. Smooth kind of like makes it kind of flat. This right here just moves the geometry, so it's keeping. You can see it's keeping the shape of the face as much as possible, but moving everything out so it's all average. If that makes sense. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah. Generally, how's my topology? Would you say?
I think it was good. It wasn't like that, like far. So I really can't. Like a lot of times you'll get like a good amount, and then you'll know like you'll start like running into issues once you start like bringing this down. So that's the when it kind of starts getting a little troublesome, or like the nose. But like where most of the spots where I saw looked good. Like you had the loops around your eyes, looked great. You kind of wrapped around your mouth, and your mouth looked fine. So the inside of your mouth just has to be like a box. It doesn't have to be anything special. Just loop it in, and either leave it open like this or bridge them together and make a empty box. It's all you need for the inside of your mouth. It kind of just loops around in like a cylinder wrapping in. The eyes were okay. Did you start making your eyeball? Can't remember. What? Yeah, it's pretty much the eye. It is a sphere, but you kind of just want to make sure that the eyelids kind of like wrap around the eyeball. That's what it's just something that kind of wraps around the balls, and it's a good amount. And I just leave it like this. It doesn't have to be too like fancy, but it kind of just flares up and out, kind of. like this. Just goes in, and you kind of just add a little like edge loop, kind of like on the inside that kind of hugs the eye. Nostrils are just holes. You can either fill them; they don't have to be anything fantastic like this. And then ears. Ears don't have to have any sort of geometry. It's just a thing. How I normally make ears is I just go and all you have to do is kind of just like trace out the kind of the contours of the ear. And just kind of fill in the holes. So like I kind of go and wrap around like the external part of the ear right around here. I'll just go and kind of just follow that around. You know, like this part juts in. And you kind of just like fill it up. Doesn't have to be anything like, there's no one like specific path to do it. The back part, you just kind of just guess. Extrude it out right here. Extrude it in. To be part of the rest of the head. Continue this out, you know. This is the earlobe part. You can, yeah, just either make a new reference image with your hair tied back, or just like take a picture of just like the side of your face and kind of like place it kind of in the rough vicinity and kind of like match it up. It doesn't have to be completely 100% like accurate. The ears, like, really, like, unless your ear is like very unique, like that's not really like what pronounces your face. It's more of like this part I'm more or less going to be looking at. The ear, it's just it's in the ear. I don't know. That's kind of how I'd look at it. And then it's the ear hole. I just like it with my image. I kind of just like dart it in the side of my head enough that like you really can't see it. Like you can see it like with my ear. It looks like an ear. It doesn't completely match exactly with the reference image. Just it gets the job done. In how I view it.
Or here's something that you can just add on afterwards.
Yeah, really, really, like what you could have, like, you can see how mine kind of just wraps around. It kind of has a circle loop around right here. So, like, in theory, you could have probably just modeled it without the ear and then found the rough vicinity where it needs to be, deleted those faces, and then went that way. It's nothing like this part of your head isn't moving at all. So if you're gonna think of like when I make the main reason I'm telling you to do this geometry is before, like, if we're gonna animate the face, your face kind of deforms in specific ways. And it also helps emphasize like certain structures. The side of your head, like as long as like I'm only doing this, like it's not moving at all. It might like flop a tidbit when you like move it around, but it's not. It's a rigid structure. Does anyone want me to look at their face? Oh, is that it? With your questions?
Yeah.
Okay. No one else wants me to look at their face. We can go over the eyes. So the eyeball consists of 3 main structures, at least for how I make it. It's a sphere, it's a cylinder, and then it's a half a sphere. So all you have to do is go and create a sphere, and I kind of tend to rotate it like 90 degrees so that like the circles are facing out, kind of like this is the eyeball, like the iris, and we can do that right now if you want. Do you have it on Sketchfab? Okay. It's Glow Kitty, right? Okay. just for future instances, like if you ever want to like look at anything, it's best just to put on Sketchfab so we can look at it. Just it's a lot more responsive. Like me remoting on your computer was kind of a little slow, and so it's just a little bit more easier for me to look at and review it. Sketchfab's nice because it like has the edge flow and all that stuff, so like I can look at the edges easily with it. But if we look at the eye, there's this kind of like dome. Okay. Okay, so this is great progress so far. My first thing that I can notice is that like if I look at it from the side view, it's very flat, and I assume I don't have a picture of you up like look at you right now, but normally you can kind of see when you look at someone's side profile like a little bit more of this. Like I assume like it just feels that like your face would kind of be a little bit like going further back a tidbit, at least around like either like this stuff could be in the right spot, but like this part might be a little forward. It just your face kind of looks a little flat at that part. So just as you continue going through, you might look at that. And it's just this edge flow right here feels like it should want to go up into the nose. It looks like you're like exiting this part a little bit like into the nostril at the moment. Feels like this should be going up, right? This edge flow should be going up into this part of the nose, and all this stuff should be just flowing up a little bit more. This is great. This is good. This is fine. It could go along like this edge could go along like this. A little bit more like that instead. Here's the loop, which is great. Most likely you'll have another edge loop right around here because this part of your lip is normally it's a hard surface. It's a little bit sharper. If you look at my face, you can see that I have in my low poly 2 edge loops or like a few edge loops really close at the top of my lip, and this is kind of flat, and then your lip is round. So that's something that you could look into later, but it's just this part right here. This doesn't look the best. If you look at, you can see how my edge loop is going up and around, kind of making this, and it's kind of going in and out of my face, and these are kind of going up and around. It feels like this edge should just keep going straight down your face. This should keep on going around here, and maybe like delete this edge right here and keep on kind of going a little like this. It's kind of tough, and you might be able to like add another edge loop right here since you have such low topology. You kind of just want to make it something kind of like this, if this makes sense. It kind of looks like a bunch of spider webs. Is that it just feels that like at this moment, you're doing a great job at just nitpicking this part. It's just this section right here doesn't feel like it's the right edge flow. And just if you go and look at some of this, you'll notice like they don't have that kind of shape. Yeah, it's no problem. I just want to let you know that that's what I see the most, the noticeable part of the model. That, but besides that, everything looks good. Right here, you can see that you have an edge loop right around here, but you don't have the one that goes around the face. So you can either kind of just adjust this around a little bit more. It's not a huge deal. Like, I don't have that on mine. It didn't feel that like my face needed that edge flow. It's like everyone's face kind of flows like their own. So like it's not a huge must-have to have the mask around the eyes, but normally you need to have the loops around the mouth, the eyes, and around the mouth the most. These are like must-have in like the edge flow, because like when I'm opening up my mouth and like it just makes sense. Like if you look at that face. It's all kind of like reflective on like your facial muscles. So like you have loops around your eyes, and like we're creating a lot of these shapes kind of reflecting of like the muscles. So like when we animate it, it will kind of move similar to how the muscles will kind of push and pull your face. But I think it looks real good. Keep up the good work. Do you have any questions for me? Okay. So going back to the eyes. So I start off with a sphere. And what I try to do is I try and just like make it in line with the face, put it in the whole of your face. Let's go and delete this. And your eyes are somewhat large. So when you put them in, this is pretty much a good size for my face. They might need to be a little bit bigger, but you really are only going to see a small portion of your eyeball. Like your eyes are quite large in the socket of your face. So then I kind of like figure out, all right, in the face, how big is like with my reference image, kind of how big is my iris in my face. and then I'll go and add an edge loop about where it should start. So let's say this is about how big the iris of my eye is. I'll go then and select these loops and kind of just pull out this part. I'll scale it out a little bit too, so it's a little bit more dome shape. And we do this mainly because when we render our eye, like if you ever like have looked at your eye from the side, it kind of like kind of bulges out, but also you can kind of see like the color of your like whatever the color of your iris is, like over right here. And we're going to make the outside part of your eye very shiny, and it's going to kind of refract the iris, so it kind of makes that shape. So the next thing what we'll do is we'll go and create a torus. Rotate it 90 degrees, and I kind of just either scale it in a little bit and then take the outside loop, press B, and scale in the soft select. So it selects like about this amount, and kind of push it back a little bit. So we have this, it's kind of flat on the back, but kind of rounded at this part. So it kind of makes this kind of flat, kind of donut shape. This is going to be the iris of your eye. This is the color part. And all we need to do is now scale it down so it fits right about where the bulge kind of starts with your eyeball. Because what we'll be doing is we will be creating a mask for this outside of the eyeball that this will have the white texture of your eye, and this right here will be transparent, and we'll be seeing into the eye, but it will have that outside amount to get the shine of your eyeball and also the refractiveness of the eye, so you can get that kind of shape of the of this kind of like dome-esque shape. Then last, what we'll do is we'll just take another sphere, cut it in half. We'll notice that the inside is black and the outside is our default color. We want the outside to be black and the inside to be the color, because this is the back face of the of all of our geometry. Your geometry is has a front and back of the face. Back is black, so we want the gray color to be the inside. So we select our mesh, go to mesh display, reverse, and what it does is it inverts the normals. So now it's gray on the inside, black on the outside. We rotate it 90 degrees. And we just scale it down. So it just covers the back part of the eye. So now when we render out our our image, we'll make this right here just a flat black image. So you'll have the center part of your eye is black, the color part of your iris, which is the torus, and then this right here, the outside of your eye, as the white shell, like the white part of your eye. Then what you can do is you can either press Control D to duplicate it, or what you can do is press Control G, which makes a group. So you can see on the in the outline there, I have these 3 objects selected. And if I press Control G for group, it creates a new group. A group is this white, like slanted box with a red arrow going into it. And if you click on the plus sign, it has all 3 objects. So if we click right here to center, rotate, so it'll just center into the other group. So if we just click on the group, it's just selecting, it'll move all 3 at once. If we select one of the objects and press up, it'll select the group. It's an easy way of selecting the group of an object. And then we can duplicate the group, so Control D. And then we can just move this onto the other side of our face. So we have both eyes. Did that make sense to anyone? Do you want me to go over anything again? Okay. So now what we're going to be doing is unwrapping our UVs for our face. So like in the past, I kind of mentioned that our face, kind of think of it as a square box. And we kind of do the same thing with unwrapping it, like we did with our house. I think the first day or the second day of class, we took a box and we looked at the UV editor. This is the front side of the box, right here. This is the top side of the box. This is right here, back and underside. And then this is left face, side of the face, and the right side of the face. So we're going to recreate this shape with our face. You'll notice that if you ever Google like UV face texture, this is kind of what everyone does. It's the front of the face and then kind of fillets out that way. So what we are going to do is first make sure that our project's set. So file, set project. I'm going to create a checker material for our face. So you can either go and find that checker material that I sent you guys a few weeks ago, or you can create one yourself. I kind of like creating one if it's just going to be for Maya. This one's significantly better because it doesn't use pixels, so it's always going to be very crisp. If you ever like zoomed into that image, you'll start seeing pixelation. If you go and create a Lambert, click on the color on the checker right here, and then go choose checker. This is a checker material that is mathematically created, so it's not an actual PNG picture. It's just like a vector image, so it's always going to be like 100% clean whenever we apply it to an object. So I will apply this Lambert to our text or material or object. I already UV this, but I'm going to redo it for you guys. So in general, it might be just a bunch of crazy nonsense when you apply it. If you don't see this checker material on your object, make sure that the texture view is on by clicking this or pressing 6. So what I normally do is I just go and select the front part of my face. You can see that if you have nice clean UVs, a significant portion of this face, this front part, will be just in line right here. So I have this front part selected. I'm going to go into UV, planar, and I believe it's Y. Nope. Let's see. I'm going to make sure keep image width height ratio checked. And what it's going to do is it's going to project a flat projection of this face, and I'll move it off to the side. Next, I will go and select the side of the face. You don't have to be completely accurate. If you select some of the back stuff, it's fine. You can keep on redoing it. So now I will do planar for the Y. Sorry, X. So I have the left face, right face. I'll move it off. Here's the top. I'm going to select the top of my face. I'm unselecting these faces by holding Control and dragging on the faces I already selected. Let's see. I'll move this right here. And now the back part of my face. So now you can see that I have a bunch of checkers on my face, but these checkers are quite large. I kind of wanted them to be a lot smaller because having them smaller, you can notice if it's more accurate. When it's larger, it's kind of more difficult to notice how square an image is on your face. So if you open up your Hypershade, and let's say it's your material isn't in this section right here, all you have to do is select the material right here in the material list and click this button right here. It's the inputs and output of it, and it's going to load it up into your scene. So you can see that we have our Lambert, which is the what we apply our material to, and into the color is this checker. And if we go one over to the left, this is this place to the texture. This repeat UV is what we're going to be increasing. So you can see its default is normally 4. So if we increase this to 20 for both values, we can 20. You'll notice that the textures are getting smaller. So the checker is getting smaller, and you can notice that like now this part is getting stretched when before it was a little bit difficult to tell if this was a square. So you can increase it to 20. You can increase it even more, but for right now, this 2020 value is pretty good, at least for right now. So I can see that a lot of this is good. This stuff right here is good, but when it's getting to these sections, it's starting to stretch. And what we want to do is we want to now stitch these shells together. So right now we have the front of the face, and then we want to stitch this to this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these edges, right click edge, shift select, and it selects, when I select one edge, it selects the other side, the other edge that's actually attached to. White is the border. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all these. Go right here, cut so, and I want stitch together. And what it's going to do is it's going to stitch this section together. It will move one side to the other, and what's nice about it is it kind of rescales the two different sizes to kind of match with each other most of the time. So you can now notice that like this square right here is about the same size as this square, which is good. Before it was a little off. Next, I'll do the same thing for this side, but we can notice that if I select this side right here, it's selecting like the other side. So this shell is flipped. If we go and select all these edges and try to stitch together, it's going to overlay that face with the other face. So to get around that, we just select all these faces and go into the transform, and we want to go down to right here, flip, and I think it's in the V. Oh, sorry, in the U. So it now flipped around. And now if I go and select these edges, it snaps together. So next I'm going to select this part right here, and I'm going to stitch together. And I'm hiding we're never going to have all this right here. We can, but I find it's the easiest to have a seam right here and the back of the head, because normally that's where our hair is going to be, and it's just going to hide the seam of your face. You'll have like here, so like this part right here, it's fine. If we try to sew all this together, this entire section right here is going to start to warp a little bit. It's the whole issue with the world map. We're trying to take a spherical object and make it into a 2D plane, and you get warping at the poles. So you're going to have some of that if you try to take a spherical object, which is our head, and make it flat. And if you want everything to connect, it's not going to be the best. So to keep as much like of everything to be even as much as possible, I find having seams right here in the back of the head the most optimal. You can mess around if you want, but differently, but I find that's the easiest to do. So I'm going to do the same thing for the back of the head. This right here I tried stitching together. It didn't work, so it overlaid, so I'm going to have to flip it into V. Stitch together. So now it's all one piece, but we still have some warping in specific locations, like right here, the nose, the eyes. So what we need to do is we go and select, right-click and select some of these UVs. So I'm going to go and select stuff right around here. And if we go to Tools, Tools, Smooth, this little box will pop up, and if we kind of just move left or right, the unfold, it kind of helps relax and unfolds the. You can see that if I do relax, it's not doing it completely correct, but unfold worked a little bit. So we can do that in sections right here, like here's the eyes. This stuff is overlaying with each other, so if I do unfold, it's kind of helping. It's still not completely correct. I'm going to relax a little bit. We can go right here, unfold. The nose right here is really funky, so I'm going to unfold this. It's kind of helping to get more uniform. And our goal is to have no UVs overlapping each other, because if I had a UV overlapping each other, whatever I draw on one section is going to be on two separate parts. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take a reference image and kind of put it and adjust it in this format, and it will help enhance our image. So our main goal is to have everything as uniform as possible, and nothing overlap. So you can see that it's starting to work. You might have to go and adjust your eyes by hand and just select reverse a UV and move it around. Like this, so it doesn't overlap each other. So I'm just smoothing and unfolding sections that look not as uniform as everything else. Sometimes you have to do it by hand, so I want this to be a little bit smaller, so I'm just going to move and give it more space. It's just taking a whole bunch of this. You can press B for soft select if you want to select and move a significant amount, or just move stuff like softly around. So the ears, I normally separate from the rest of the head. So right here, you can see how I made mine as a loop. So I can go and select this edge loop around and go and cut UV shell, and I can just move this around and then just select all this stuff, all these UVs. Tool, smooth, relax probably, unfold, until as much of this is not overlapping each other and looks pretty uniform. The next step is right here, like underneath, like your neck is a big old tube. So right here, I'm going to select my neck. And I'll just do the cylindrical unwrap and just adjust this so it kind of goes in line with my neck. So you can see that I'm moving this around, and you can see that as I unwrap this, it kind of adjusts how this looks. So that's fine for right now. I'll move this, scale it down so these boxes kind of match up with these, and I'll just unwrap this section right here, tools, smooth, unfold, so this kind of just gets a little bit more uniform. So you can see this is overlapping each other and looks incorrect, so you just have to move it manually. I have a pretty powerful computer. If you have your object that you're unwrapping in smooth mesh, and it's really chugging, I would suggest turn it on just normal one view, and it'll be significantly more responsive. It's just when it's on smooth mesh, it's using more power and more processing. So if you're getting frustrated and like, why isn't this moving as like quickly as mine? It's just because you might need to like make it a little lower poly version. So the next step is to get everything in this 1x1 square. So just scale it down. I didn't do the other ear, but you can see like the ear, it doesn't really have to be exactly anything specific, but you can see that now everything is in this 1x1 square, and what we're going to do is we're going to now export the UV snapshot to Photoshop. So click on this right here, UV snapshot, or image UV snapshot. Sometimes right now I'm in component mode. It's best to be in object mode. If you just double click right here, so it's in object mode, and do image UV snapshot. Sometimes when it's in component mode, it doesn't do the UV snapshot, and you just have to be in object mode. It just works a lot better. 2048 by 2048 is good. PNG is good. Put in our source images. Apply and close. So now we're going to open up our PNG in Photoshop. Like in the past, create a new layer, fill it in white. Keep changing Photoshop. So make a white background, and then I duplicate my UV snapshot a few times so it's a little bit darker. Put it in a group. And then what you can do is take your reference images that you took of yourself, and you might want to take a few more than just the front and side view. You might want to take some 3/4 views, but what we're going to do is use your reference image as the base of your color map. And so you can see with the UV, it kind of is very much, you can see where most things are. I'm going to adjust my face and kind of match it up with the UVs. A helpful tool is if you do control transform, right click, and do warp. It gives a 4x4 square box that you can adjust and warp stuff around. And now what I'm just going to do is I'm going to kind of just adjust my face to kind of match up with where, at least where I think most of my geometry is in the face. And what I'll do is I'll go in File, Save As, Source Images, copy, JPEG, face. Now we can go and create a new texture, so Lambert. Click on the checker, File, And then the image name, we'll find that new texture that we created. Face diffuse, open, and I will start laying that right here. So now what we can see is we're getting somewhat of our face on our face texture on our geometry, and it helps create that realism of our face, because we're actually using our own textures and our differences in hues and whatnot. One big thing we have to try and reduce is the shine of our skin. Maybe like, so my picture that I use isn't really a great reference image, because I have a lot of highlights like right here, because this is a highlight on our face, and when we render our face out again, we're going to have a highlight, and we're going to have another highlight in a different spot from the camera than the reference image that I'm using. So the best is to try to get your face as flat as possible, but this is a way of reducing this flatness. So if you use the clone brush tool, it's this right here. If I hold down Alt and choose a spot that's around that doesn't have a highlight, so like right here. Well, that's the healing brush, the stamp tool, and I'm kind of just referencing some color, and that's like in that vicinity, and trying to average it out. You can use the healing brush. So once you have some of this around, you can go and it's going to kind of just like what the healing brush does is it tries to like fill in spots by analyzing around. So it's just going to use some like color information around and kind of help fill in and make it look a little bit more natural than like a bunch of stamps. So like this is a little dark, and it's going to help kind of fill in that stuff. I want to get rid of the color of my hair, at least as much as possible. I want to kind of get some of it. You'll want to kind of get the undercolor of your hair about like if you would pull back your hair as much as possible. So like for me, like this much, I want to get the color of my hair right here, because what we're going to do is we're going to create 3D hair, but it's also a little bit a little bit easier to have that color of your hair underneath, because it kind of like enhances and makes your hair feel a little bit more full instead of having flesh tone. And if you don't have enough like hair follicles in 3D, it'll just look like you're going bald. And if you have the hair underneath, it at least looks like you have a full hair like you normally would. So I'm going to go and continue to fill some of this in. Right here I have some shine on my nose. I'm going to fill that in. I'm just sampling around. This is just a shadow from the camera, so I want to kind of fill that in. I don't want the color of my eye to be in the texture, so I'm just sampling stuff around. I'm going to turn back on the wireframe, and I want to get the rest of the side of my face. So I'll go and choose a side image, place that down, scale that up. So now what I want to do is try and blend the side view to the front view. We can create a layer mask and then paint black. So at this point, it might be helpful to get some like 3/4 image shots of your face. So like right here, I have the front side of my face and the side of my face, but like this part, I'm trying to blend two extremes. And as if you get more reference images to get and fill in this, it'll look a little bit more realistic or less stretched or warped. So at this point, like it would be the best just to, you can go and get like a whole bunch and throw it into Photoshop and start like adjusting and removing parts so you can get a good full like range. So you can see that like this, like I didn't do a great job at getting the tone of the side of my face and the front of my face completely accurate. You can see that it's clashing. So just if I had more reference images, it'll just be a little bit more flat and uniform. The big thing is we want to keep your face as flat as possible because it's the undercolor. We're going to be creating a skin material and that has all the specular and bump stuff in your face. So we just want this color because our face has a whole like full range of color. It's not just tan or brown or whatever. There's red in your cheeks and your nose and like other parts. So it's just really helpful to get that like full range of color in your face and use references as much as possible. So you can see it's just a lot of playing around, turning things off, blending. This part is the more artistic part of this section. Instead of the geometry has to be specific. This is more of the let's go and just paint and be a little bit more creative with it. Doesn't have to be 100% accurate to your face, but just using as much reference images will help drive that as real as possible. So you can see that I can go and like to the top of my head, I can just go and like duplicate this around and just get that like the color of my hair. Make sure that you turn off the UV wireframe when you save out your texture, because if you don't, you're going to have lines in your texture. So you see, as I go, I'm just filling it out. as much as possible. I'm just checking some spots. But like, you can see that this isn't the same tone. I just have to adjust this. If I had more reference images, it would be a little bit more helpful. But you can go and like, if it's not completely accurate image, it's just like level. Just the levels a little bit. So I would suggest you don't have to put your eyebrows in. You can, but we're going to be going over how to do 3D hair. So it'd be cool to do like eyebrows in the 3D. We'll be doing like the bump map to get like the skin of your face. All you have to do is find like a skin. Like this right here, it's just a good like noise texture. You don't have to do anything real specific. If you want like if your lips really have a very like specific like creases like this, you could go in and adjust that and put that in. But we'll do that later on. For today's class, just looking about the color and all that. So these two were separate layers, so what I can do is I can duplicate and combine them, and now I can like do the smooth brush and kind of get rid of this different tones. File, save as copy. JPEG, let's replace it. So you can see it like just adjust it slowly by slowly, and you can get your face to start looking like yourself a little bit more. Does anyone have any questions? Or do you want me to go over anything that confused you? If not, that's it for today. Next week we'll be going over hair. If you keep along with the class, maybe for a week behind, you'll be fine, not be rushing the last day of class. But if there's no other questions, you're free to go.